Oh, okay. Okay. Let's go.
X-Men 97 is maybe like the fourth X-Men show we've reviewed on this show.
X-Men 97 is a direct continuation of the 90s cartoon.
X-Men 97 is nostalgia.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fallingtower's Watch the First podcast, a podcast in which we watch the first episode of a series so that you don't have to.
But you still can.
But should you? You're about to find out. We are doing, all of April, we're doing new shows. Even if it's a spin-off of an old show or a new take on an old show, whatever it is, these are all new shows. If you got a new show you'd like us to review, in the comments below, make that suggestion and we will review it. Maybe. So anyway, look, everybody, we have an amazing guest today. This is just unbelievable. We've got an associate director of undergraduate studies at Duke University, by the way. Is that right?
Yes, close enough.
And
is that right?
Associate professor of the practice department of biology. It is Eric Spana. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. It's good to see y'all.
Thank you for taking time to be with us. Holy moly.
This is really cool. We're really excited about this. Everybody's also very excited because Dr. Noor's back, of course.
Yeah, I'm here.
They're
always
cheering.
A pleasure to be on Falling Towers. Watch the first of things.
And my name is Ryan T. Husk, him again. All right, let's get into it. So, where do we go from here? Oh, everybody, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for notifications. If you're listening in, give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. We'd really appreciate it. And now let's play. Dr. Noor, where do we go from here?
Next section is what we call the predictaments, because this is where we predict what each other thought of the show without giving away whether we like the show ourselves. It's Ryan's favorite part.
It is, and I'm actually excited about this one. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So, Mohammed, I predict that you like this. I don't remember if you've seen the original 90s X-Men thing. I should remember this, but I don't remember most things. I think you like this. I think you're going to be pretty high on it. You're not going to be wowed by it. You're not going to say, oh my God, I'm going to lose my mind. But I think you're going to be like, hey, it was fun. Maybe I'll watch it with my kids when they come visit, and they'll love it too. Eric, I think you liked this show. We've met maybe 7 minutes ago, but you are a friendly fellow. You're a positive guy. You like stuff. You like people. And you've seen this show before because you said it was nostalgic. Maybe you just mean nostalgic for the 90s, but I think you've seen this show before, and I think you liked it before. I think you like this one, and I think you're going to be pretty high on this, and we're going to be pretty high on you. What do you think, Dr. Noor?
So for Ryan, I think you're going to think it's okay, but I don't think it knocked your socks off. I think you're going to be like, if I was a kid, I would love this, but like, it was okay. Like, I think, above average, but not something where you're like, wow, I can't wait to watch the second one. Eric. So Eric I've known for like 19 years. So
whoa.
I'm thinking, yeah. I know you're a Marvel fan. Yeah, what's that?
We've shared a lab.
We have shared a lab, yeah. I know you like Marvel because we actually saw Endgame together.
And Captain Marvel.
Yeah, and Captain Marvel too. It's tough because when something is nostalgic, it could be good or it could be like, oh my God, I used to watch this. I think I'm going to go with the positive. I think I'm going to go with the, like, it's good. I think you're going to be in the, if you're on a scale of 1 to 10, I think you're going to be in the 7+ range. So that's my prediction. What about you, Eric?
Nice. All right. So the grading scale here is hard because is it everything is okay above 5 range, which of course between 50 and 65 is failure, or a solid C in the 70 range. So I had to do some Googling to see how nostalgic this would hit everyone.
Ooh.
So Muhammad, that original series would have come out and you were in college-ish, roughly. So that'd have been like Saturday morning on your way to DJ.
It's a good memory. I was a DJ.
What's that? Right? Like as if you had that good a time slot.
Yeah.
And so I would go a solid 7, which is good on a 1 to 10 scale, but a D.
You grade hard.
Right. Well, I mean, 70%'s a D.
I always thought it was a C minus.
You're thinking 10-point
Oh,
scale.
you're right. 70% is a C minus.
I don't know if I'm right. I'm just like, man,
I think it's different scales.
I'm like, I can't do Ivy League colleges. You guys are tough, man.
So, and then Ryan, I think you're a little younger than us, and you would be at the age group where you would not be watching Saturday morning cartoons for nostalgia fun. So like, but still 6.5, 70 kind of range. Liked it, like in the positive numbers. How's that? Is that a reasonable, like, that's the prediction?
Passing grade. But we'll see how passing in a moment. So everybody at home, not yet. It's time for everybody to make their predictions. Do you think I liked this show? Do you think Muhammad liked this show? Do you think Eric liked this show? Do you think we hated it? Do you think we were like, I don't understand what's going on. This is weird. I want to go home. I am home, but I want to turn this off. Whatever it is, make your predictions in the comments below or in the live chat. Take your time, no rush. Dr. Muhammad Noor here is going to buy us a little bit of time by telling us what this show is even about.
All right, here's a short summary. Picking up where the 1990s X-Men cartoon left off, Professor Charles Xavier is thought to have passed away a year ago, and a militant group called Friends of Humanity is using Sentinel technology to capture mutants. Cyclops now leads the mutants, and he and his team rescue rich young Roberto da Costa from the Friends of Humanity. Meanwhile, Cyclops is having a bit of a midlife crisis, balancing running the X-Men and being about to become a parent with Jean Grey. The team figures out that Bolivar Trask is the one supporting the FOH, so they search him out and defeat his Sentinels, as well as the biggest one called Master Mold. However, in a last-minute twist, it turns out Magneto was in Professor X's will and has inherited his fortune and school.
Just realized his name sounds like Balderdash. Only when you said that. All right, everybody. You can keep typing away, but where do we go from here, Dr. Muhammad Noor?
This is my favorite part of the show. This is the one I like to call Expectation. We spend a little bit of time on what you expected without having seen the show yet, like right before you watch it. And then we spend most of the time what we actually kitchen, what you actually got as you watch this show. Or as Ryan likes to say, we like to compare and contrast what we expected with what we actually got. So the first part is just what we expected with no spoilers.
I do love saying that. It's really fun. You should try it.
Might be a professor.
All right. So here we go. I'm going to compare and contrast what we expected, what we got. That was fun. Dr. Muhammad Noor, before you watched this first episode of X-Men 97 on Disney Plus, what did you expect, if anything?
Honestly, I was puzzled by the name. Like, why is there a 97 at the end? Like, are there 97 of them or something like that? I had no idea what that meant. I know that I'm very familiar with the X-Men. I've seen the movies. I think I saw the cartoon a couple of times, but it's not something I saw regularly. Maybe I'd seen a couple of episodes of it when my kids were watching it. But in terms of like, what's the plot? I mean, I knew who was going to be. Well, I thought I knew who was going to be in it, but I assumed it was going to be the usual group of X-Men of like Charles Xavier and Cyclops and Jean Grey and Storm and like all the usual folks there. But yeah, in terms of plot, nothing. In terms of connections to previous ones, nothing. So not a whole lot. But you know, it's short. It's a cartoon. I assumed it would be an easy watch.
What about you, Eric P.
All right,
Spana?
So what I thought going in, I thought I knew who X-Men were and what this was going to be about. I vaguely recall that cartoon, And by vaguely, I mean there's some weird. I kind of remember being in an apartment watching a Saturday morning cartoon on X-Men. And then, um, yeah, I was totally wrong. Like that was a wait, that was a grab the remote, hit pause, and ask my wife, "Who's that?" Like,
We'll come back to what you actually got in
wait.
a minute. Leave the
Who's
spoilers for what you saw.
who's that? Wait. Oh, okay. Okay. Let's go. And so, yeah, I thought I knew who X-Men were and what we were about, but I was wrong.
Whoa. Definitely want to hear more
Great
about
teaser.
that. Yeah. All right. So I'll tell y'all what I expected. Whoa. Okay. I loved that original cartoon, the X-Men cartoon. I remember loving it when I was a little stinker. And, because I like the X-Men comic books. I like the X-Men. I like them more than Avengers, although the Avenger movies hit a home run, really.
Yeah.
The X-Men movies hit a, like a single, maybe a ground rule double. It's okay. It's fine. But X-Men were definitely my thing as a little guy. And I remember liking the cartoon because it was great. You had all these different characters and you had that rockin' theme song and, it just kind of had everything that I wanted out of the show. It was perfect. And it was animated so they could go anywhere and do anything. They don't have to worry about budgetary things. So what I expected when I found out that this is a direct sequel from it, I'm assuming the 97 just means that the old show maybe ended in 96 or 93 or 95 or something. That's what I just guessed. So it's probably right. I was like, cool, I'm in. I think this sounds great. We're going to have more episodes of that old X-Men cartoon. Let's do it. And that's how I felt. And then Muhammad was like, it's a little longer than the other one. It's 30 minutes instead of 22. And I was like, ugh, fine, I'll still watch it. Still watch it, but I'm watching you, X-Men 97. You watch your mouth.
Longer.
Yeah. So that's what I expected. But now everybody pencils down, no more predictions. You're about to find out what we actually got. Dr. Noor, what did you actually get?
So I agree with Professor Spana in the sense I did actually at some point pause. I'm like, wait, this is like a 2024 show? Because it felt like, did I accidentally go back to the 97 show or something? Like, what's happening here? Like, no, it says 2024. I even did a Google search to confirm it and it said that it picks up leaves off. Like, okay, I guess this is. I thought maybe it would release to Disney in 2024, but it was actually came out in 97. It was very puzzling in that sense. It was okay. I mean, it was very much like the old cartoon. Again, I think Adam, my son, watched it a little bit. I don't think I watched it at all back when it came out, but I think Adam, my son, watched it, so I saw like bits of it. It's nice. A lot of people, I think, would appreciate this. Is similar to when we talked about the Scooby-Doo and Guess Who. A lot of people would appreciate that they basically kept the animation. They didn't try to like update everything. It's kind of just like we're just continuing on where we left off. Boom, here you are. So I think that was good. There was definite world building relative to, I assume, the old cartoon. Like, I don't remember where the old cartoon ended in 96 or 97. I guess I only saw bits of it here and there. But there's definite world building in the context of, like, something has happened to Professor Xavier. Obviously something happened to Jean Grey. There's a lot of changes that are afoot overall. So that I appreciate the world building to it. It did seem like they were, on the one hand, kind of assuming you knew a lot, but there was a lot of very much introducing the X-Men too. Like, here's Cyclops, and look, he can blow things up with his eyes. So it felt like, although there was kind of assuming you knew stuff, if you didn't, you would be fine. Like you would figure it out because there's the theme stuff which had it, and there's scenes which had it. Plot-wise, I found it a little chaotic. It was kind of like, what's happening? What actually? There was a thing at the very beginning about something happening in Paris, and then there was no further reference to it. Like, okay, is that even part of the plot anymore? Or is that just dropped, or what happened there? Definitely, the transitions felt very abrupt. Like it felt like, it feels like this whole thing with what's the name of the bad guy again? Who they went at Bolivar Trask and the friends. It sounded like that was going to be a big thing, but then they just went and destroyed them all, and he was captured. Like that was it. It felt kind of like, boy, that was a very quick resolution to something that seemed like it was going to be set up. So again, it just felt kind of abrupt. There were funny little tidbits. Like, I don't know if you saw that Daily Bugle that flew by at one point in time that had Benetton's mutant fashion show as a headline on it. I had to freeze it to see, like, what did that say?
Benetton.
Pat
Yes,
Benatar.
that was funny. Yeah, it was again a little chaotic, more so than I would have expected. It didn't quite deliver as much as I would have hoped. Like I would have liked to have seen it either being really good arc based, where it didn't seem like there was this complete resolution on stuff, or there would be more episodic, where it did resolve, but like the whole thing. So it felt like it was trying to straddle the difference and not super well in that regard. That was at least my overall take. I have a lot of detail stuff, but let's go on to Professor Spana to hear his take first.
All right. Right. My review sorta
Yeah.
was
Now you can say anything.
Was like you come in and what you really, 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 really wanted was previously on X-Men.
Yes.
Right? And you did not get that. You are like, oh look, here's our X-Men, and the music starts, and you're like, yeah, I remember this, and it's going. You're like, there's Xavier and Wolverine, yeah, and then it starts off like Xavier's dead, and you're like, what? No, he's not, but he's in the credits. He's not dead. Ugh. So like, they really should have started off with a go watch the 5 seasons of the previous thing, so that you know what's going on. And then I agree with Muhammad on the thing I remember from the previous show was Sentinels are really powerful and bad. And then it takes like half an X-Men to wipe out a dozen in this episode. And you're like, okay. Sentinels are kind of lame now. And I was having a hard time connecting everything since the 90s to the show. Like, oh no, character blah 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 name killed Professor Xavier, and I'm like, I've never heard that name. And then Bolivar Trask is, we have to go find him because he's the bad guy, and you're like, who's, oh that was Dinklage. Okay, now I remember Trask.
Oh
yeah, that was Peter Dinklage.
Wow.
In the Days of Future Past. Yeah, that one. And then the occasional, like, the whole plot was kind of dumb from the start, where your bad guys kidnap a poor mutant, and you save the poor mutant, and then you bring him back and question him about the bad guys, though you have unconscious bad guys that you could just ask this question. You're like, what? Weird plot. And then the last thing I just want to point out that I had no recollection of, and Ryan, you're a super fan, you can tell me, when did Magneto get hot? like I remember Magneto
Forever.
looking like Gandalf, right? And it turns out in this show, Magneto looks like Thor, right? The flowing blonde hair and like rippled muscles and stuff, and you're like, you can manipulate metals and do all kinds of stuff. How do you lift weights?
Yeah.
Magneto was buff. Like he was.
Interesting.
All right, sorry.
Interesting. Well, I'll tell all y'all what I actually got. We're going to be duking it out all episode long. I loved it. I was like, this is exactly what I thought it was going to be. And I think that whoever made this was like, let's just do the same show, same animation style, same music, continuing on, everything just the same. It was wildly successful back then. People missed the 90s. Let's just keep it going. And I think they get an A+ in execution for what they were trying to do, which is continue on that show. The only qualms I really had with it was a couple of the voices. I was like, nah, that doesn't sound like, so, nitpicking. Like, some of the voices were perfect. In fact, the one for Cyclops, I was like, I think that might actually still be the same guy. Like, he sounds the same. A few of them sounded a little weird. Professor Xavier, the one when Morph was him, that voice was a little weird. I was like, oh no. But then I was like, okay, that was just Morph. But then I was like, you know what? I have a feeling Professor Xavier is not really dead, and we're going to see him again. And then that's going to really be his voice, and then I'm going to be sad. But I felt like I don't know if they had him die in the old show. I think they maybe were just, it's one of those new mysteries that they're popping up. Like,
Oh.
they're like, hey, everybody, since Professor Xavier is dead, and we're like, what? Xavier is dead. And they're like, hang on, we'll get to that in a few episodes or what, that's what I think. I don't think they covered that before. Maybe that's how it ended. I don't know. But I think it's just one of those things where they drop in some little mysteries to add later. But overall, I was like, yep, they accomplished what they set out to accomplish, which was to make the next season of that X-Men cartoon. But I feel like oh man, this is going to be so good. This is going to be good TV. You guys are going to poo all over it. And I'm going to be like, but. So let's start with this. Who was your favorite character?
I mean, from the movies, I'd always say Cyclops, but for this one, I would not say Cyclops. Maybe Beast.
Mm-hmm.
He's a scientist too.
What about you, Professor Spana?
Oh, I'm gonna get beaten here. So it turns out, the whole nostalgia thing for that show from the 90s, what I had forgotten was how many of these characters I don't like. Like,
there are a lot I couldn't remember too. Like, I didn't remember
somehow Boy Scout Cyclops never has worked for me. It was like comic book Captain America was annoying. Movie Captain America was cool. I don't know how they did that. But like, I hated Captain America in comic books. I mean, he was like, every character just grated on my last nerve. So like, to pick a favorite one was like, oh, please make Rogue and Gambit be quiet. Oh.
What about Magneto?
I was just totally distracted by the muscles. But like, it was Beast and me going, I guess Bishop, because he hasn't done anything bad yet. But then I realized I liked all the villains in X-Men.
Villains were cooler.
And so that was the like, yeah, I was thinking about this and I'm like, nah, it was Beast. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the villains were great on the show, like Sabretooth. I always loved Sabretooth. He was awesome. Well, and I'm with you on, I've never liked Cyclops. I just
like his power. It's not so much the character, I like his power.
He was just always kind of whiny. I mean, I think they're improving him gradually, kind of like the Captain America thing. But I remember like also in the movies, I was like, oh, who is this geek? Like this guy.
His power is cool though. Shoot things out of your eyes.
Well, what I like about, go ahead.
I thought Wolverine was going to be okay, but then there's the whole pining thing that you're just like.
He was like that in the cartoon too.
Right.
That was his thing. He was always pining for her. And I always really liked Gambit, because he's Cajun. He's got that French thing. He looks cool. I always liked Rogue. I think those were the ones I like. Wolverine, Gambit, Rogue. I like Jubilee too. I do remember her. She was like introduced in like the first episode of that original 90s series. I think they kind of like rescued her in a mall. Like when she mentioned on the show, they rescued me in a mall. I'm like, I think that was the first episode of the one, they introduced this new, character. And I always liked her because she's got potential. She's the new kid,
I like Storm's powers too. Storm is cool in that.
Oh yeah, Storm.
Yeah. I always thought the coolest thing about X-Men was like, or any kind of superhero thing, is how different everybody's powers are. They're different characters, how they all work together. But every once in a while, you have someone like Storm where you're like, she can kind of just wipe out a whole army by herself. Why don't you just start with that? if she can make like the world like revolt against somebody. Why did you save her till the end?
Like, why did you
She's
just fly the
overpowered, but
Eagles to Mordor?
oh, sorry.
Sorry,
What'd you say?
that was just fly the Eagles to Mordor.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
It seems like with Storm though, like on one hand she has probably the highest power. On the other hand, it seems like the least directed. Like in the case of Cyclops, he can aim his beam right at something. Storm seems like she creates a bunch of lightning, but she can't make lightning hit that particular thing very easily. Like it's more just she's kind of getting a lot in that vicinity, and then that's what it seems like at least.
Okay, you're gonna have to help me with the you X-Men professionals. So she can't do Emperor Palpatine tickle fingers.
I don't think so. Do you remember that, Ryan? I don't remember her doing the like that.
Maybe lightning. Can
she do that?
Maybe.
She should direct it herself, not just call in.
I feel like she is. I feel like she is what you're saying, which is like mass destruction. She just
for
everything.
If you want to knock out a city, she'd be great. If you want to have a surgical precision thing,
yeah. She's like, you guys are gonna get so much rain, you're gonna hate it. Yeah. Boy, this is getting puddles everywhere. You're gonna be pissed. Yeah. So that was cool. I wasn't terribly familiar with Morph. I think I remember him being like the jokester kind of guy in the earlier one. Like he'd laugh, and I'm turning into this guy now. Not my favorite dude. And also, this was something I don't recall, but maybe this was how it always was. Not only would he mimic the way what a superhero would look like, but also their powers. Like if you'll remember when he became the Blob, I think the Blob was the guy he became. Yeah. And then Wolverine bounced off of him. And before that, he was someone else. I already forgot who it was. He was Professor, but then he was somebody else. And so he would take on, that's who it was. When they were falling out of the airplane, out of the jet, he became Archangel, who was a former X-Men, and then flew them to safety. I thought Archangel was showing up to save them, and then he wasn't there. And so I had to rewind it. I was like, oh, I get it. So he mimics their powers as well, which is like a crazy cheat code.
Totally.
I don't know if that's fair.
Totally.
So
funniest scenes for you guys.
So if if Morph takes on someone's powers, it can be anyone's powers. Can Rogue just go to Morph and get anyone's powers?
Oh,
or does she get Morph's powers?
Well, if he touches her, he dies or whatever. Right. And then she soaks up his power. What did she do in this episode anyway? Did she do anything? She didn't do any fighting. She just saved people. They got to give her one more thing. They got to give her one extra. Well, I guess she flies.
She did a little
that's right, she could fly.
Dialogue to describe her powers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
I do remember her flying. I didn't know she could fly. I was like, oh, she can fly. I don't think in the movies she could fly.
She and Storm were always the ones that they were the fly, at least in the cartoons and the comics. How cool was it? I know every Marvel fan or X-Men fan went nuts when they saw Gambit riding on Wolverine's back and supercharging his claws and then throwing a car to explode him for it. I was like, whoa, we did it, everybody. Cool. High five. We had fun stuff. I can't be the only one.
That was cool.
No. That was like, oh, look, teamwork.
Yeah.
This only usually happens at the end of the montage.
That's true. Usually they'll be losing individually, we need to work together, and then now it works. Yeah.
I've seen movies.
So Mohammed, I think you started to ask about favorite moments. You got any for us?
Funniest moments.
Oh, funniest.
Either way. Favorite or funniest?
Well, I can tell you one. When Cyclops was being tackled or whatever was happening to him, and he says, I surrender. Not. Because I'm like, because at first I was like, not, what are you? Oh, I get it. This is 90s. Okay, you did it. You brought back the 90s humor. And I also thought it was funny unintentionally in Beast, who is a super scientist, just genius. And in his lab, he has books. One says science, and another book says DNA. And I'm like, all right, come on. I think maybe I'm wrong.
I didn't notice that.
I'm not one of you smart guys, but I think you guys have books that are like certain things about science, not just that here's my science book and here's my DNA book. I thought that was great. Unintentionally.
He's got the 9th grade science book up there. And,
Oh yeah. Has
Am I wrong
everything
about that?
Science summarized.
oh yeah, that was like I could go with that one. Yeah.
I didn't notice that. That's hilarious. What about you, Eric?
Oh, my favorite part was wait, what was that kid's name? Roberto?
Yes.
Yeah, DaCosta.
Yeah. Waking up going, you're really blue. Like, yes, because that's crazy.
It's true. It's true.
Super blue. Not your giant or hairy, but blue.
And probably stinky.
Upside down.
Let's be honest, Beast probably stinks. Like, not his fault, but he probably smells like a Wookiee or whatever.
I would have actually pictured more of a dog shampoo smell, but okay.
Maybe that's what he uses.
Bolivar Trask could also be Bolivar Travels. What do you think? I think that might work.
Oh man! No, for mine, it was also DaCosta where he says, "Where's my jacket? Tell me I didn't lose it. It's super expensive." I'm like, that's your first thing after being kidnapped? You're like, "Where's my jacket? It's super expensive." You're already a rich kid too. Like, come on.
I thought it was cool that he was Brazilian. I'm assuming he was Brazilian because he's speaking Brazilian Portuguese. It sounded like, but because I wanted to know. Because if they're just like, oh, there's a Hispanic kid, I'm like, from where? There's like 30 countries to choose from. But they actually, when they did that, they kind of narrowed it down for us. So I thought that was cool. Although I think if he were Brazilian, he would say his name is Herberto, because they don't like to pronounce the R's at the beginning. They make them H's. Roberto is what they would call it. Something like that. Anyway. And I don't think
where did this take place?
Somewhere in the East Coast, I think. Right? I don't know.
One of those made up X-Men. Yeah.
I think so. That I don't know for sure. Maybe upstate New York or someplace. I don't know. Mohammed, you know?
I do not.
No,
I've kind of assumed it was East Coast too, but I don't really know. New York State seems like a good place for it, like especially upstate somewhere. But
the X-Men mansion is in Westchester County, New York. We did it, everybody.
Good job. They can get to the city real quick.
Oh, okay. Because that's just like, is that just up the Hudson kind of thing?
Yeah.
Or maybe this is just where the filming happened. I don't know.
No. I think that's where the mansion was.
Okay.
Like it was within reach of the city.
They did a good job making. Oh, sorry.
No, please.
Well, I say they did a good job making. Was the bad guy Trask a bad guy? Like the comment that he said at some point, like tolerance is extinction. That's such a standard thing that like evil people tend to say. So I was like, oh, that was good. Yeah. Made him very believably bad in that sense.
What about when Rogue says another Catch the X-Men day when they're flying? I was like, now that's hilarious. Because she caught them and they're always falling and crashing. So boy, that was
I feel like you're unusually positive on this episode, Ryan.
Well, I was joking about that. That wasn't that funny, but I did put a little
because my thought of that was, how did you miss the giant sentinel punching the airplane?
Yeah, I feel like when they were first introduced, they were like the big, like stormtroopers. They're like the big scary thing, and as the show and the series goes on, they start to kind of defeat them and figure them out, and they're not that big of a deal.
Speaking of stormtroopers, I will point out that those Friends of Humanity with the Sentinel guns couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, right? It was just like, psh, 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 and like X-Men aren't even taking cover. They're just like, yo, right here. And like,
didn't the main Friends of Humanity guy look like the number 2 guy from G.I. Joe?
You mean Destro?
No. The good guys, G.I. Joe, not the bad guys.
Oh, Flint.
Yes. Didn't he look like
maybe.
Flint?
Maybe. Maybe.
That's
I
what it
didn't
reminded
notice
me of. I
that.
was like, oh, that's interesting. Why is
You'll have
GI
to-
Joe like
I
bad
liked
in this
Flint. Flint was
Yeah.
cool.
Separate at birth.
one?
Yeah, I'd never heard of Master Mold though. That was new to
Oh.
me. I don't know.
I
But I
came
did.
out thinking of giant fungus at first, like the master mold comes after you.
I thought it was just like
It's a
something they
huge mushroom.
put together. You know,
Mushroom.
I did really like the old school picture of the OG original X-Men. That picture that he was looking at, I was like, I think that is the very first original old ass, ugly ass uniform X-Men. It was Professor Xavier, Iceman, Jean Grey, Cyclops, Angel, and I think that was the Thing. But I didn't know that the Thing was started with the X-Men. I thought he started with Fantastic Four, but that's what it looked like. Anyway, that was really cool. But Muhammad has put his clipboard down, which tells me it's time for something, right?
Yes, it's time to learn more about Professor Eric Spana of Duke University.
All right.
All right.
He's like, go for it.
right. Let's see if I can pass this test.
Yeah, I think you can pass the test about yourself.
Ah.
So tell us a little bit first about like what you teach and what you do at Duke, and then we'll go more broadly outside of that realm after that.
What do I do? Well, mostly for my job, I'm super long-winded. So you're gonna need to like rein that in. So I'm a teaching faculty at Duke University. I teach in the biology department. I do what I like to refer to as indoors biology, which is like cells and molecules and DNA and microscopes, stuff like that. I am not the kind that goes outside and touches slimy things or gets weathered on or wet.
I know you've caught wild fruit
Air
flies
conditioning,
before, though.
all in on the air conditioning. Yeah, indoor science. And so I've been teaching at Duke for 20 something years. What was the second part of the question?
That's okay. So I started saying, I know you have gone outside to catch wild fruit flies before for your class.
All right, yeah, I have done that. I have caught wild fruit flies off of my front porch so that we can use them indoors in lab.
So tell us about that lab in particular, because that lab's an interesting one.
Is it really? All right,
I think so.
We'll say. All right. We'll just talk about the first half of it because
Okay.
the second half is too detailed. That's just
Got it.
too. So the first half was essentially a biodiversity project where you just ask, what are the organisms that live in this area? And the area that was easiest is my front porch. And the organisms that are easiest to get are fruit flies over a bucket of rotting bananas. So you can catch them and you store them in ethanol and leave them sit on your bench for 5 months until it's time for class. And students then take pictures and use molecular biology to identify what kind of fruit flies those are, because it's easy to teach molecular biology. It's hard to teach entomology.
I love it. That's really cool that you have them actually like get DNA sequences to figure out what these species are and then look that up.
When students say fruit flies, they always think like, these guys. And we get 20 different species this year, which is a new record. It's somewhere in the 14 to 18 range, but we got a really good yield out of my yard this year. And like, it's been kind of fun. Like things that were really wacky looking with like black and white racing stripes, black and gold one once. That was a really cool looking one. Spots, stripes, you name it. Not what we expected, and a little more interesting to students for an intro bio course. So
that's awesome. And about
thanks.
A little over 10 years ago, you were using a lot of pop culture stuff, both in the classroom and at like conventions and stuff. You want to talk a little bit about some of the work you did in that regard? I know you're not doing a ton of it right now, but still.
So I used to give a lot of pop culture talks, a lot, I don't know, a few a year. Used to travel around, give pop culture talks on various different things. Man, I had a whole talk on how to make Captain America Super Soldier Serum and genetics of wizarding in Harry Potter and lots of video game ones. What was the Star Wars one? I don't remember the Star Wars one.
I can't remember.
I don't remember what it was. But I had why the Beast thing was fun was talk to another group, and we put together this nice page on how to make blue, because it turns out X-Men are humans. You start with human DNA, and then the X gene gets mutated, and now you're blue. We can't actually make blue. That's not a thing that organisms with backbones can do.
What about if we eat a lot of like shellfish, or something? Doesn't that turn like flamingos
turn
pink? Yeah. What if they eat like a ton of like spirulina or something?
You could turn orange. But well, there actually are some genetic issues that will cause you to turn your skin blue
or yellow.
But that's not what's happening to Beast or
not silver poisoning or whatever that is.
Mystique or the way it works out is that it's light refraction off of hair. So baboon butts aren't blue, they reflect blue. And so Beast just has
don't take that away from me. I like baboon butts.
Yeah.
I think it's nice that they show off their colors that way.
Yeah. I think that was about a bunch of video game ones. Mass Effect, Destiny.
Yeah. You did some of these in Duke as well, like there was a spring break class, I think.
Yeah, I taught this spring break class with this guy who is now an interim associate provost at Duke University, Professor Knorr.
Hey.
And we would have a great time just having students come up with problems that didn't need to be solved and then solving them. And one year we went to see Logan, right? Didn't we go see Logan?
We did.
Yeah.
And Kong Skull Island.
Kong Skull Island and Captain Marvel. Is that it?
I think that was it. Yeah.
I think that was it. But man, the how to make X-23 the students worked on, and that turned out amazing. So like the science to make X-23 is a little closer to reality than you would like. So that was fun. What do you think? Did we do any others? We did one that was Star Trek. The last time I did it without you, we did have a Star Trek bit.
Ooh.
Right? What's the organisms that the people who are left on white on each black and
oh yeah from original series guys. Yeah, I don't remember what they're called though.
Like left-right asymmetry is a tough thing to do in that part of development. So
especially like with an exact line bisecting your face, right?
Exactly right. Like it has to, and you have to be able to flip that left-right in a subset of the population.
That's not going to happen. 1966 Star Trek, get it together.
It's going to require bringing that population back and putting them in sort of a modern Star Trek who has really, really good science advisors who can then look at it and go, neural crest cell migration will 100% turn on the melanin synthesis pathway, and your left-right asymmetry can totally do this. Right, Doctor?
Or what they might more likely do is be like, I think I remember my friend Professor Eric Spana had a video about this. I'm going to go look it up.
Yeah, let's just use that.
Yeah, like, how does this work? Use your phone.
Totally. Yeah. Anything else you want to advertise that you're doing now, or in terms of work or outreach or anything like that?
No, I'm like slowly wrapping it up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where can people follow you on various socials?
I do have an at Eric Spana Twitter account, which is mostly just me liking Duke basketball things and Penguins hockey things and complaining about drop rates and guns and Destiny 2.
Best Pittsburgh Penguin, Mario Lemieux or Jaromir Jagr?
Oh, it's Lemieux.
Okay.
Like Lemieux isn't the best Penguin. Lemieux is the argument for all time.
I mean, his last name in French does mean the best. So,
oh,
Le Magnifique. Like they, the Penguins had just a crazy run of Mount Rushmore like level players, and it's just an embarrassment of riches.
So, right around when this show was coming out, the original.
I can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. 91, 92. Those 90, 91. Those years, man.
It's time for the tough part here, though. I think. I know that was fun, but now we got to get tough. We got to get mean. It's the final two questions of the show.
Bottom line. And
Muhammad calls it the terrible twos.
Bottom line. I call it the bottom line.
He's a father. He gets it. Terrible twos. So also, one thing I did think was funny for the Star Trek Voyager fans in our audience. If you'll notice, Jean Grey and Cyclops love each other. And I was like, oh, JC. That's a big Voyager thing. It was JC till the end because they like Janeway and Chakotay. So
I don't get the connection at all.
Janeway and Chakotay, people want Janeway and Chakotay to kiss and stuff.
Oh, Jean and Cyclops.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here it comes, everybody. Question number 1 is, Dr. Muhammad Noor, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you, be honest, give the first episode of X-Men 97?
So this is just for me. Obviously, it's the kind of thing I might enjoy if I was watching with like my son when he was younger. And I don't think he'd watch this now. He'd be like, "What are we doing? Why are we seeing this?" I mean, we just finished watching Game of Thrones together. I don't see him going back to say like, "Let's watch X-Men." So the cartoon, at least. I mean, for me, I didn't love it. It was okay. I didn't, as Ryan would say, like I wasn't mad about it. I give it a 5.5, kind of middle of the pack. See, I'm not using grades there. So Eric's thinking like, that's an F.
Okay, that's
okay. 5.5. Like, it's okay. I don't regret watching it, but that's kind of where I'm at.
What about yourself, Eric P. Spana, professor?
I would it got clear early on that this was made for Ryan. And I did not remember enough of that original show to understand anything. Also, I forgot, I don't like most of the X-Men. So I went with 6.5 because I used an actual grading scale.
Oh.
So I gave it a D.
Works for me. All right, everybody, I'll tell you what I'm giving it on a scale of 1 to 10. Well, if I'm grading it based on whether they achieved what they were attempting to achieve, which I am, then it's very, very high. I think that they achieved exactly what they were trying to achieve. They said, you know what? Let's just keep that old show going. And they said, all right, let's do the best we can. And I think they nailed it. I think that they nailed it. I could nitpick it to death because that's what I do, but they nailed it. So I was going to give it a very high score, but then I was like, let me make it a little bit higher so that it matches this. 9.7. We are getting a 9.7 for this show. And I bet X-Men fans of the original show will agree. Very high. They nailed it. I mean, look, I could cry about, they didn't this voice isn't how I remember it. But you know what? It's almost impossible to match a voice actor with a voice actor from 30 years ago. So I realized I was being ridiculous about that. You know, that's just me going like, that doesn't sound, that's too whiny. I like the other one better. You know, that's not going to happen. Anyway, 9.7. Don't try to talk me out of it or I'll go higher.
No.
All right.
No.
All right.
Your criteria
All good.
and grade
Happy
are
for you.
dead on. If you said
Now-
grade this on, do you think this was made in 97 and would appeal in a Saturday morning audience? I'd have been like, oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Agreed on that
100%.
too. Yeah.
Like, if you said, do you like X-Men? I'd have been like,
But here's the key. Question number 2 is the important one. This is the one that Disney Plus tunes in for directly. Question number 2 is, for the purposes of this podcast, we all had to watch the first episode of X-Men 97. Oh, entitled, To Me, My X-Men, which was kind of creepy.
my X-Men.
Yeah. But now that the podcast is over and we're free to move about the internet, Dr. Muhammad Noor, would you of your own volition watch the second episode?
No.
Think about it.
Yeah, I'll give it some more
Time.
thought. No. I'm
Yeah.
good. Yeah, no, I would watch it. I mean, it's the kind of thing, again, if you know, there was a kid over and they wanted to watch it, I'll sit with them and watch it. It's fine. But again, if I'm just clicking through Disney Plus, no, I'm not going to click play on that. I'm going to keep going.
All right. That sounded like a maybe. What about Professor Spano? What about you? Would you of your own volition watch the second?
You mean watch the second again?
Oh. Ryan's like, yes.
We got
Like-
one.
Like, like, what? Magneto's in charge. Let's go. Finally,
twist.
somebody cool and interesting.
And beautiful,
Oh.
apparently.
And like built like a Greek or Norse god. Built like a Norse god.
Did you watch the third or just the second?
Just
How far
the
did you go?
second so far.
Okay, interesting. I love it.
Wow. I also
Wow.
will point out that at the end of episode 1, I don't know what's in it, but Charles Xavier's will was a 2-inch wide book. Like, he must have had a lot of stuff that he described
Mm,
just to give to Magneto. You're like,
It doesn't be that long. So you could have like it be like 5 pages to be like, all my affairs go to Magneto. It doesn't have to be
Right.
like laying out
but
item
apparently
by
he
item.
must have like written out every ballpoint pen and
Yeah.
like paperclip goes to Magneto.
Maybe he was
Yeah.
doing the old school thing of like storing things in the book. Like, here's a feather, here's a leaf, here's my stamp collection on page 200. You know, maybe he was, you know, his secret key is right here on
Secret key.
179. Wow. So
Yep.
it's a yes. That's amazing. Well,
Oh, absolutely.
surprisingly, everybody, I did give it a high mark, but would I watch the second episode? It's a no from me. Not,
9.7.
not. It's a yes from me. Oh, I got you 1997 style. So good. Yeah, of course I would. Yeah, I'm like, hey, that'll be fun, especially because I'm finding stuff out about episode 2 already from Eric. I'm like, I'm getting even more excited. Now, will I watch it? I don't know, but I would.
Like,
I would.
the disappointing parts of episode 1 were the bad guys, because it was these 2 dudes and a bunch of robots, which were useless.
And I think Morph
Bring me the bad
becomes a
mutants.
bad guy.
What's that?
I don't know if I'm imagining this, but I think Morph becomes a bad guy, especially because if you look at him, he kind of looks like a bad guy, right? And he has a bad guy kind of character. Well, I guess that's Mystique. Mystique does
Yeah,
that
that's what I think.
almost the same thing. So would they really have 2 characters like that? I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. Who knows? I guess we'll have to find out.
Bring each
Anyway,
other
everybody, that's about all the time we have, but this has been super fun. So if you'd like us to review a new show, in the comments below, type WTF, the show, and where we can stream it. So you would have typed, for this one, for example, WTF X-Men 97 on Disney Plus, or maybe Hulu, I don't know, but definitely Disney Plus. And that's it for us. So everybody, please. No, I don't go that. I almost skipped ahead. What I'm trying to say here is that this podcast was like 3 X-Men uniting.
This podcast had the power of Cyclops eye thing.
All right.
It's you.
Yeah, this podcast had the power of Jubilee.
That's good.
Blue, blue, blue. Sparkles.
Sparkle. Yeah, sparkle fingers.
Yeah, it's fun. All right, everybody. Please remember what Mr. Michael Kenyon Rosenberg likes to say.
Don't forget to be an organ donor, and don't forget to watch the first of things.
All right, everybody. Freeze frame like Jubilee on the dance floor. That's horrible.
That shitty smile and pretend